Step 1, card tricks. Step 2, conjuring oranges. Step 3, devil worship.
Hey, I'm Blake.
And I'm Dave.
And this is the Magic Movies episode of First Prize Films, the disappearing podcast where
Ta-da.
we each select a genre-specific movie and pit them against each other to find out which film wins the coveted title of First Prize. Dave, what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's like the appointment time at a doctor's office.
Sure.
You're gonna get frustrated.
Oh, I don't need it. I'm calling my doctor.
So today we are making everything disappear with these magician films.
Ooh, spooky we are.
Yeah, spooky. What?
It's scary. Things disappearing is scary. Magic scares me.
Oh, fair enough.
Well, Dave, I made you watch 2006's The Illusionist, a movie where Edward Norton uses the power of magic to gaslight a dirtbag into killing himself. It's scary. Point proven.
Amazing, dude. And Blake, I made you watch The Prestige, a movie where a man is overcome by his obsession and another man who is overcome by his obsession, and how they're both the same obsession, and oh my god, everyone needs help.
I've never seen a movie that needs a therapist so fucking bad in my life, dog.
Oh
Holy
my
shit.
god, right?
I love both of these movies.
Yeah?
They both came out in 2006. I was very into both of them. And honestly, this is a great matchup for me because I used to argue with a buddy which one was the better film.
Really?
Yeah. So
Not me,
this
because
is
I'd never seen him before.
a long time coming. You've never seen either of these.
I had seen The Prestige at one point, not in theaters.
Okay.
Years later, I had seen The Prestige like on TV or something.
Okay.
Remember when TV had channels?
Oh, God, yeah. The good old days.
Anyway. Yeah, no, I had never seen either one up until recently, so.
Wow.
Who was the friend?
Oh, yeah, we did know each other at the time. It wasn't you. Is there any reason why you chose The Prestige?
Christopher Nolan.
You cover all the Christopher Nolan films on this show.
It's by contract. Yeah.
It is. It's literally. Our lawyers hashed this out.
No, I picked that one because I had heard of and seen it. And I had only kind of heard of The Illusionist. So I was like, well, I'll go with one I'm familiar with, I guess. Also,
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Dude, it's a great film. And for me, The Illusionist was actually a pretty big movie. I loved this movie. I loved the love story. I loved all the magic elements and stuff. I thought it was like a really cool plotted film. It hit perfectly for me in that time. And so I haven't seen it probably since I was 16 or 17. So I was really excited to revisit it and see how it held up.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good reason. Because also, like, I was thinking, what are some other, magician films? And I thought, I don't necessarily want to do that one with that guy who played Mark Zuckerberg and Woody Harrelson, because...
Oh, those, the Now You See Me movies?
Yeah, because those were fun, but also insane.
But I do have to say magicians, like, around, like, the mid-2000s were very popular, like, culturally.
Were they?
Yes, of course. Were you ever, like, the David Blaines and the Chris Angels and stuff
yeah.
like that? Remember? That was big for a minute.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Were you ever into that stuff?
First of all, no. I mean, sometimes David Blaine would be on TV or Chris Angel, and I'd be like, what? How do they do that? I do have to say, though, a few years ago, I was selling motorcycles here in California, and I sold one to David Blaine.
Yeah? Did he make it disappear, or did he make the money disappear? What disappeared, Dave?
No. He did just start doing card tricks, though.
Oh, no way. Really?
He really did. Yeah. Like, when we were doing paperwork, he knew that people were going to ask him, so he just preempts it and just starts doing them. So I might not have been a fan of magic, but I did get to meet a magic man.
That's pretty cool. I had a girlfriend who was very religious at the time.
Uh-oh.
She thought Chris Angel was a literal warlock.
Oh, God.
And then she broke up with me.
Great.
So who's the idiot here?
Definitely not you, because critical thinking, not something they teach in religion.
And relationships. And we're going to get all into that with The Illusionist from 2006.
Let's fucking do it, man.
Let's get it over with.
Movie 1, The Illusionist, 2006.
Okay, Blake, pull out your cards or your trick rings and I don't know. Just give me the synopsis for The Illusionist 2006.
We're going to bypass that.
Love in the 1800s is hard. When a peasant boy loses contact with the rich girl he loves, he'll spend the next 15 years traveling the world to learn the craft that no woman can resist. Magic. Will he pull it off, or will his heart get sawed in half?
It's her! She wants to tell us something! We must do something!
In the name of His Imperial Majesty and the city of Vienna, I hereby arrest Edward Abramowitz, also known as Eisenheim the Illusionist.
We open in 1889 Vienna, where the famous illusionist Eisenheim, played by Edward Norton, sits on a stage. He conjures what appears to be a ghost with bad reception onto the stage, and the crowd is like really about it, but there's an army of policemen there who are decidedly not about this thing. We don't know why yet.
No, we don't know why. All I know in that moment is I thought he was taking a shit, and they were going to arrest him for, like, taking a shit in public.
Indecency. He wasn't arrested for that, but after Eisenheim was arrested for half-conjuring a visible fart, Chief Inspector Uhl, played by Paul Giamatti, he reports this to the Crown Prince Leopold.
I want you to put an end to it. Surely you have something on him. Something from his past.
In fact, we know all about his life.
So I guess the Crown Prince hates Eisenheim, and now we have to get his whole life story, and maybe at the end of this, we'll figure out what the hell the prince is so mad about, other than Eisenheim's shitty party tricks.
You know, I think he was probably touched by a magician when he was young.
I bet, and you can't report that in the 1800s. No one will believe you.
As a boy, I'm told he had a chance encounter with a traveling magician.
So when Eisenheim was a boy in the form of Aaron Taylor Johnson, he met a traveling magician in a field. The magician turns a frog into a rose, the rose into a flute, and the flute floats. That was hard to say, but it's all very impressive when you see it, sure. But then the magician himself disappears, and then the tree he was sitting under disappears. Everything just disappears.
I don't understand why any person would see a creepy old man sitting under a tree and be like, I'll talk to that guy.
No, I get it. He's just like walking along. There's no context to this. I get that it's supposed to be kind of like a myth or legend of Eisenheim, but to be clear, what this man was doing is not magic. It was good acid.
He slipped it to young Eisenheim?
He slipped it to Aaron Taylor Johnson Eisenheim.
Sounds great. Sounds like a good plan. Give kids acid.
Who knows what actually happened?
Now, young Eisenheim is enamored with magic, of course, which I guess in this era actually got you laid because he meets a young girl of status, Duchess Sophie von Teschen, played in her adult form by Jessica Biel.
Yes.
Quick story also, one time I actually tried magic to get a girlfriend. I pulled a coin from her ear, and she pulled my underwear over my head.
So it sounds like it worked.
She was the better magician.
Duchess von Teschen, you can't be in a place like this. They're peasants.
But even though Eisenheim and Duchess Sophie fall in love, Eisenheim is from the wrong side of the haberdashery or something. I don't know. He's poor and she's not poor. So now they can't see each other. And Eisenheim, he departs Vienna to learn more magic and I presume get more laid.
Either more laid or more angry. I don't know.
Can you cry and do magic at the same time? I don't know.
Abracadabra.
And then, almost 15 years later, he appeared in Vienna.
So, despite no one really knowing what he did for 15 years, Eisenheim is back in Vienna doing magic, and hopefully doesn't have a venereal disease because he's got to perform tonight. Dave, he grows a tree that sprouts some oranges on stage, and the crowd goes nuts for that citrusy razzle-dazzle. They love that shit.
I mean, I do love a good orange, but...
The trick is pretty amazing.
Yeah, but I also don't know if I would trust eating that orange.
All fair points. So Eisenheim's been performing in Vienna, and one night he performs for a crowd where the Crown Prince Leopold is attending.
Yes.
The woman he's supposed to marry comes onto stage to help with the trick when Eisenheim realizes who this actually is.
Do you know me?
No.
You're quite certain that we've never met before?
Yes, of course.
It's Duchess Sophie von Teschen! Yes, she's supposed to marry the Crown Prince, much to the dismay of Eisenheim. He puts on a great show, but the Crown Prince is one of those guys that doesn't know how to have any fun
Yes,
you know,
very clearly.
he thinks he's smarter than everyone, and all he can do is think of how the illusions were done. I hate those people.
Yes, he's also the kind of guy that stands up and is like, you know what? I will volunteer my girlfriend to do the trick.
Yeah, this dude is such a dick. He's also like one of those guys who you drag him to like a museum, and he's like, I took a better picture with my phone. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. You know the type.
That's not art. That's a sponge.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, the Crown Prince invites Eisenheim for a personal performance at his prince compound or whatever.
You must come to the Hofburg next time. We'll make an evening of it.
That will be my pleasure.
So be it. And we'll gather our best minds. You really have a challenge then.
Perhaps I'll make you disappear.
But before we can get to the prince's compound, Eisenheim and Sophie have a clandestine meetup in a carriage where they kind of like reconnect a bit. They talk and remember each other, I guess.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we also learned that the prince is really jealous, which definitely tracks for someone with such a stupid mustache.
Yeah. And also, like, I love how they're sneaking around in broad daylight, like no one's watching them.
It's just like situational awareness, people.
Just a little bit.
When I was on the stage, you knew me.
Yes, I knew.
Could have said something.
They say you'll be the princess.
It's not decided at all.
So I guess the prince should be jealous, at least a little bit, because Eisenheim is working out a panty dropper for the royal performance, dude. When he's there, he ghost paints a picture of the prince's dad, the emperor, and then humiliates the prince with his own sword that he magically, like, sticks to the floor. You know, no one can pull it from its place, even the prince.
It's a good trick, but
it's
like,
good.
But how did you do it?
We'll talk about that later.
Come now, if you can't pull it out, you'll never be emperor.
Your father will live to be 100.
So after this embarrassing performance, the prince goes into overdrive and tasks the police inspector Uhl to stop Eisenheim from performing in Vienna.
Uh-oh.
Now, I'm in no place to judge anyone on their penis size, but that is some tiny, tiny dick energy right there.
Quite literally. It's that piss on your balls type energy.
For sure.
You
For
know?
sure. Where it just splatters everywhere, and then you have to hire the maid for a few extra hours, and it just comes all out in the bottom line. It's just embarrassing for the accountants. I have no idea what this means or is about. I don't know.
You seem a little too familiar there, Blake.
I'm sweating.
Shut him down, please.
Very popular.
I'm sure you'll find a way.
So with Eisenheim being shut out of Vienna, Sophie decides she needs to help him. So she hops on a horse to visit his little cabin in a small city outside of Vienna called Pound Town.
Why should you possibly care what happens to me now? You don't know me at all.
Why did you even bother to...
You know, it's really bold to fuck a prince's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And by bold, I mean stupid.
I agree. And after making sweet 1800s cabin love, Eisenheim asks Sophie to flee the city with him, but she says she can't. Lots of things are going on that prevent her from taking the show on the road, including a secret plot from the prince to overthrow his emperor father and take the throne. She says this.
Don't say anything and we'll just go.
As long as we're alive, he'll hunt us. And when he finds us, he'll kill us.
Yeah, dying would suck, so instead of running away, she decides to end things in person with the prince. You know, do it the right way. Not over text, no faxes, nothing. Just face-to-face handling it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, he takes it as well as any other incel-type dude you meet on the internet.
I don't want to be part of what you're planning. And I will not marry you.
Because if you disrupt my plans, I will have no further use for you. Do you understand?
After he slaps Sophie, she rushes out and he follows her. And a butler, or somebody in a fancy coat, listens out the window as they continue to fight before a horse rides out with a slumped-over Sophie on top. Things are not looking very magical, Dave.
I mean,
they're not!
Oh, okay.
You have determined the cause of death?
She bled to death. There's a wound on her throat, just above the left collarbone. Perhaps from a knife or a sword.
So that's the unfortunate truth here, Dave. After a search, Sophie is found dead by Eisenheim with her throat cut. Yeah, it turns out no amount of magic can fix a stabbed neck, at least not in this time period.
Oh, man.
We'll get to it. The doctor then turns over a gem he found with Sophie to Inspector Uhl, and Uhl's really in a predicament here. It's pretty obvious who killed her, Prince Mustache, but Uhl can't be arresting the prince when he's supposed to be in his pocket, so they arrest some rando and just call it solved.
I cannot get over that they just arrest a man for murder that did not commit it.
Well, clearly you haven't been living in the United States long enough. Jesus.
He finally emerged from his grief and bought a rundown theater.
It's perfect.
He fired his manager and began preparing for a new kind of show.
So obviously Eisenheim took the whole death of his soulmate thing pretty hard, but when he comes back from his grief, he buys a theater and starts performing shows where he now has the ability to raise the spirits of the dead, which seems less like magic and more terrifying.
I feel like in that situation, especially in that time period, you pull out a ghost on stage, that's going to cause a riot.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I used to do card tricks and make oranges on stage, and now I talk to the devil. Whoa!
That escalated very quickly.
Thought there'd be more steps there.
Nope.
Who is he?
My name is Franco.
How have you come to be here tonight?
I don't know.
Are you alive?
What can you tell us about the other side?
So again, for his new show, Eisenheim just comes out on stage, sits in a chair without saying anything, and fucking raises the dead. People freak out. But, like, in a fun way, I guess, kind of. And his popularity surges once again across Vienna. This makes Prince Mustache really mad, and he orders Inspector Uhl to arrest him for fraud. But they can't quite seem to figure out how Eisenheim does this trick.
I mean, yeah, it's because it's magic, Blake.
Well, honestly, in the way it's portrayed in this movie, there's no fucking way to fake that, right?
Right,
like,
yeah. How do you, what?
We don't have just like ghosts like popping up on stage to be like, ooh. Like we have little ghost children popping up in the audience and walking on stage as people's hands pass through them. It's not a trick. That's 1800 CGI. But the prince, he's concerned about what's going on, so he attends a performance in disguise, and this happens.
Who are you? Are you Duchess von Teschen?
Tell us, please. Who murdered you?
Someone here.
Was it the Crown Prince?
That's right, Sophie herself appears on stage to suggest that the person who murdered her is in the audience tonight.
Gasp.
Yes, little does anyone know the prince is there and wearing glasses to conceal his identity, like it's a bad comedy sketch that your friends put on or something.
Like, what? I mean, seriously, is he Clark Kent? He just puts on a hat and glasses and he's unrecognizable?
I know. He also says to Inspector Uhl, who, like, accompanies him there, he's like, get away from me. I don't want to be seen with a cop. But, like, Inspector Uhl's dressed just like everybody else.
Right. What?
How would you know he's a cop? I don't know. I've never been to the 1800s myself, so I can't tell you how this works.
Yeah, I've only been once or twice.
But this whole thing is turning public sentiment against the prince. So Inspector Uhl visits Eisenheim to give him one final warning, even though he's like totally a fan now.
Yeah.
Don't make me put you in jail. Promise me you won't do it again.
I promise you'll enjoy this next show.
So Eisenheim isn't allowed to conjure Sophie anymore, but sure enough, at the next show, Eisenheim does just that. And Sophie shows up to give a post-mortem equivalent of an Oprah Winfrey exclusive interview.
I was leaving him. I tried to get away. I was wearing my locket when I died, but now it's gone. It's lost.
Was it the Crown Prince?
We must do something!
All hell breaks loose because the crowd knows it was the Crown Prince who killed Sophie, and as the police storm in to arrest Eisenheim, it turns out he has one last trick up his sleeve.
Uh-oh.
Find him!
Eisenheim disappears before they can even arrest him. Like, literally disappears. He doesn't just run away.
Wait, how do you conjure yourself?
That's a great question. I don't know. He, like, turns into an old-timey puff of smoke and vanishes. So, like, I don't know if he's a ghost. I don't know if I'm a ghost. I have so many fucking questions now. This has turned a lot of things on its head.
Yeah, I'm confused.
But like both of us, Inspector Uhl has questions, but unlike us, he gets some answers pretty quickly.
Oh. Well, I mean, somebody does.
I had my driver take the sword to police headquarters. My men will examine it and see if it matches the gemstone found on Duchess von Teschen's body. I have no doubt that it will.
Basically, Inspector Uhl finds another gemstone like the original one he found on Sophie's body that matches perfectly to a sword owned by the Crown Prince Mustache. On top of that, Uhl contacted the Emperor and tattled about the prince's plan to overthrow him. You know, it's solved. The whole thing is solved.
It's over. There's nothing more to this movie.
It was the Crown Prince. The whole minus wherever the fuck Eisenheim disintegrated to. We have all of our answers.
All right, perfect. Let's wrap this up.
All right, there's only one thing left to do. We got to finish this whole confrontation with the prince.
Okay, fine.
You need to wire your driver and have the sword returned.
Or what?
I'll shoot you. First, I'll shoot you anyway.
And then you'll have killed a police inspector and a duchess.
So the prince holds Inspector Uhl at gunpoint, but his daddy Emperor's men come in to give him a proper spanking. He does this. Prince Mustache turns the gun on himself and pulls the trigger.
Man, magic really makes people want to die, I guess.
And I hope they have a good cleaning lady on staff, because brain matter is notoriously hard to get out of those Oriental rugs.
How do you know that?
I don't know anything. Cut to the clip.
Are you Chief Inspector Ull?
I used to be.
Who gave you this?
Herr Eisenheim!
Sometime later, Uhl receives a notebook containing one of Eisenheim's famous tricks that Uhl really admired, and it all comes together in his head. The murder, the gemstones, the locket, all these little clues add up to one very simple explanation, Dave.
Which is?
Sophie's murder was faked, and all the clues were planted to get Sophie free from dead mustache prints.
Oh my God.
Simple. Love conquers all. I mean, love was an accomplice to murder.
Listen, I'm not going to say that I saw this coming because I didn't write it down, but I did not see it coming.
Wow. You didn't know that in a movie about magic where someone mysteriously dies and we don't know all the surrounding evidence about it, it just happens that she isn't? Wow.
Shocking, I know. Very shocking.
Everything you have seen is an illusion. It's a trick.
So while an amused Inspector Uhl slow claps by himself at the realization like a madman, Eisenheim arrives at a countryside homestead. He's alive, and here he finally meets also a very alive Sophie, and they can now spend their lives together as long as their love doesn't magically disappear.
Yes, they can spend the rest of their lives boning in the woods, and there is still a guy in prison for a murder that not only did not happen, but that he did not commit.
That was The Illusionist, Dave, from 2006.
I gotta say, I did not think I was gonna like this movie because I don't really like Edward Norton, but I liked this movie.
Yeah, I love this movie. I really liked Edward Norton. I still think he's a good actor. Maybe not a great person. I don't know. I don't really know the man. But yeah, I loved this movie at the time. I liked the love story. I'm less thrilled with the love story these days, but, you know, I still thought it was a pretty fun movie.
Yeah, I think it was pretty fun. I did really hate the circular transition.
Oh, I didn't. It's like the old vignette transition that's like very like of the time.
Yeah, but they only did it twice. It's like commit or don't.
I understand, because it was kind of bookendy though. So I was fine with it because it was in the beginning and the end, which was how they did movies back then. They'd have a thing like we're in the movie, and then they have a thing we're done with the movie, because audiences, I guess, just didn't fucking get it back then.
I don't know. I didn't hate it necessarily, but I was like, what the fuck?
Dave hates this movie now because of two transitions.
You've convinced me. Thank you. I do hate this movie now.
Very specific about his visual transitions.
I don't like it. I'm just saying. I don't necessarily hate the cinematography, but I gotta say, I'm not sure I bought Jessica Biel and Edward Norton together.
I understand that.
I was like, no.
That's a thing for me too. Like, just like we talked about, not to bring up old wounds here, but just like we talked about with The Notebook, I didn't really see why they connected other her just liking his magic tricks when they were kids and stuff. But she doesn't even give me too much chemistry. Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's the chemistry between them, and they just like visually, you're like, mm-mm.
I'm not opposed to it visually, I guess, but like Edward Norton is just fucking going hard for this role, and I don't feel like she met that energy and the chemistry to sell that relationship.
I can agree with that. Yeah,
I know all about relationships. I'm good at them.
Yikes. Yeah.
Anyway, girl from the 6th grade, if you remember giving me the worst wedgie I've ever had in my life and breaking my butthole, call me, baby.
No, listen, Blake, I don't want to talk about your 6th grade failure at love. I want to talk about magic.
You don't want to talk about my 6th grade butthole reconstructive surgery?
No, I want to talk about magic, even though that does sound magical.
It was basically like magic. The doctor said this is a fucking miracle. Speaking of miracles.
Let's fucking get to the next fucking movie in this one and stop talking about buttholes.
It's The Prestige.
Movie 2, The Prestige, 2006.
All right, Dave, I need you to give me the synopsis for the very confusing, very fun The Prestige from 2006.
Have you ever seen a real-life magician? Of course you haven't. It's 2023. But back in the late 1800s, magicians were all the rage. So much so that there's turf wars between two magicians, Angier and Borden. Who will pull the bigger rabbit from their hat? Look closely and you will find out. Or you'll still have no idea what happens.
We're all so confused. Oh, Jesus.
Every magic trick consists of 3 parts, or acts.
So we open to Cutter, played by Michael Caine, explaining how magic tricks work. And shockingly, it's more than just sleight of hand and ta-da!
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually 3 parts. The pledge, where the magician shows something ordinary.
Yep.
The turn, where the magician takes the ordinary thing and makes it do something extraordinary.
Yeah.
And finally, the 3rd part called the prestige. And we've said the movie title already.
Whoa! That was quick, dude. We can wrap this stuff up so quickly. Roll credits.
Roll credits. Not only are we not wrapping it up, we're actually also seeing a botched magic trick performed by Robert Angier, who's played by Wolverine before the claws, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, Huge Jackman. Go on.
What'd you say? And this trick is being watched by Alfred Borden, played by Batman before the cape, Christian Bale.
Yeah, all the Nolan people are here.
Yes.
I saw someone making their way below stage. It was Borden, watching Mr. Angier drown.
Anyway, Borden is now on trial for murdering Angier, which I guess murder is technically magic. You are making something disappear.
That it is true. It's a very hard form of magic that not everybody likes, but is magic nonetheless.
Yes.
If you want Angier's secrets, you go dig him up and ask him yourself.
Yikes. So some guy named Owens is coming to try and buy Borden's tricks for some other guy named Lord Caldlow.
Yeah.
And he also wants Borden's most valuable trick, the transported man. But Borden's like, nah, dude, I might be in prison, but I might abracadabra out here at some point.
Yeah, he's like, I might be your transported man. I'm fucking done, son.
He's complacent, he's predictable, he's boring.
So now we get some past scenes where Angier is turned away from Tesla's compound. And no, I don't mean the electric car company. I mean the Nikola Tesla.
Elon Musk was like, hey, buddy, not here, not today.
Not sure why Elon was in this movie, but we'll move past it. But then suddenly we're in the more past. The further past.
Deep past.
Anyway.
The past is past.
The past's past. Yes, I like that one. Where Angier and Borden were working together for Cutter, but they don't quite get along. Oh, and Angier's wife is the magician who they're working for's assistant.
Oh my God. So lots of things going on.
Yes.
Angier and Borden are 2 magicians that assist with Cutter's show that he runs.
Yes.
Okay, and then Angier's wife is also an assistant.
Yes, correct.
Okay, what a tangled web we weave.
What's in there?
Angier's machine. But this wasn't built by a magician. This was built by a wizard.
Okay, Cutter, laying it on a bit thick, aren't we?
Yeah, buddy. We're not on stage. Relax.
Right. So I guess that was more in the present day? I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, so at this point, we've also seen a little bit of Borden's backstory, i.e. how he meets his wife. And then we also get a bit of Angier's backstory, where basically Borden and Angier have tied up Angier's wife, who again is the assistant, to go into the water tank of this magician. But at the last second, Borden switches the knot. And then...
No, Julia!
Angier's wife fucking drowns, dude.
This is horrifying. You said these aren't scary movies. These are scary movies, Dave.
I never claimed that magic wasn't scary.
Fucking roll back the opening of this show, but okay. Still, she drowns and they're trying to like break the thing open and the water rushes out, but it's too late. She's dead. And Angier is like, listen, I can't become Wolverine with this kind of baggage going on right now. Okay.
Basically. And not only do we have to put off the Wolverine transformation, there is, I guess, just like a tiny bit of animosity now between Angier and Borden.
Which knot did you tie?
I'm sorry, I just don't know.
You don't know?
You don't know?
I mean, I don't want to point fingers, but this was 100% Borden's fault.
Oh, yeah. And either way, Borden is doing his own tricks now. Now we're in somewhat of the present. I don't know. We're not in that part of the past anymore.
We're moving on from the past towards the present, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, it's not really going that well for Borden until he whips out this dangerous bullet catch trick, which is done by handing a volunteer an empty gun with gunpowder in it. So he picks a volunteer and...
Which knot did you tie, Borden? I don't know.
Holy shit.
Bro.
Angier has disguised himself and was picked as the volunteer, put a bullet into the empty gun, and fucking shoots off a couple of Borden's fingers.
This was intense because Angier was like dressed up as like a vagrant or something. And I'm like, oh my God, and you realize who it is. This is such a tense scene. And then his fingers just go poof.
Yes, so I guess there's one trick you can't do it anymore. Get it? It's a pervert joke.
That's bloody marvelous, Cutter.
So now we have moved forward in time again, and Angier is finally getting back on the magic horse, which is not like a physical horse that's magic, Blake. Come on.
It's not a unicorn. It's not a really cool pony with glitter. It's just the metaphorical act of getting your act together.
Yeah, exactly. And Cutter is back, and he's helping Angier get an actual act together that uses mechanical instruments to put a new spin on old tricks. And hey, that's not magic.
Sorry, Dave. This film is going to hurt your feelings, I have a feeling.
That's lame. Oh, and Scarlett Johansson's here, and she's his assistant now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I always forget she's in this movie.
Yeah, I don't care. Well, I guess shooting Borden might have been a bit short-sighted because that dickhead has disguised himself and has sabotaged Angier's new trick, maiming a lady from the audience in the process. Dude. And it's starting to feel like this rivalry may be going a bit overboard, no?
I did remember a lot of this movie, but I remember this part because, like you said, with all the mechanical stuff, it's a birdcage that collapses and whips around. And, of course, Borden is up there, and he looks at Angier, and he's like, haha, gotcha, bitch, and flips the cage. It collapses too early and smashes this lady's fingers.
Oh, yeah. Oh. It's fucking gnarly.
February 8th, 1899. Today, finally, a breakthrough. Tesla's agreed to see me.
So after we get some scenes of Angier following Borden while looking exactly like Willy Wonka, we finally get this long-awaited meeting between Angier and Tesla.
Yeah.
And Angier wants a machine built like the one that Tesla built for Borden. What machine, you ask?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know, Blake. Leave me alone.
I want to point out here, too, that Tesla is played by David Bowie.
Yeah, I thought he looked familiar.
He's great in this role, too.
So then Angier goes to spy on Borden and his most boring magic show ever. But wait, Papa's got a new trick. Or is it bag?
He's got a new closet.
He had a new trick.
Was it good?
It was the greatest magic trick I've ever seen. He doesn't know how to sell his trick to an audience, but I do.
Yeah, well, we can use it as a climax of the show.
So instead of coming up with your own act or anything, you decide to steal someone else's? Wait, whose side am I on?
But wait, no, I don't want to talk about stealing the act. What is the act that is so fucking important that he has to steal it?
Oh, all right. Well, I guess I'll tell you. So basically, Borden's new trick is he goes into one standing door on stage and exits out of another separate standing door on stage almost simultaneously. How does he do this, you ask? No idea. But that doesn't stop Angier from stealing the trick anyway.
I figured this out immediately. Like, I knew immediately what was going on. The man can run really fast.
Yes. Invisibly.
Not even invisibly. So fast you can't see him.
Oh, okay, got it.
Fast as fuck, boy.
But for Angier's version of the trick, he's going to use a double, trapdoors in the stage floor, and have a giant, like, pillowy sack to fall on.
This is the incredible transporting man trick that we've all talked about earlier in the movie, right?
Right. And, you know, because he's using a double, I had one conclusion. Everyone's eyesight must have been really bad in the 1800s.
Yeah, they have a double that they try to make kind of look like Hugh Jackman, but it actually is Hugh Jackman playing the role. And so they just kind of make Hugh Jackman look like if he was put in the microwave for like 15 seconds.
I need you to go and work for him.
Work for him? Are you joking?
So, unsatisfied with using a double to steal Borden's trick, Angier throws his Scarlett Johansson-shaped assistant, whose name is Olivia, anyway, he throws her at Borden to learn how he really does his version of the transported man. I'm sure nothing will backfire in any way, shape, or form from this.
This is so fucked up. He's like, hey, I love you. Also go fuck this other guy and steal his trick.
Pardon my intrusion, and go easy on the poor chap. He does try so very hard.
What Angier didn't account for in his whole spying plan is that Borden is clearly much smarter than he is, or at the very least better at metaphorical chess. Kind of like our friendship, but I'm not quite sure who the smarter one between us is.
I'll leave that for the audience to decide.
It's me. Anyway,
We know.
Anyway, Borden gets to Angier's double and sabotages his show by tying up the double and essentially hanging him from the rafters and removing the giant fall pillow, which fucks up Angier pretty bad. And he does this basically just to promote his own magic show, which is brilliant for marketing purposes, not so brilliant for Angier's leg purposes. Who knew magicians were so ruthless?
That's savage, dude. I think
that was fucking savage.
Actually, really funny because I dislike both of these people.
Yes,
and I want to see them both miserable. So
yes, 100%
it's working.
Where's my engineer?
Alive! How fast can you dig?
So Angier says, I'll see you're messing with my double's head and raise you burying a guy alive. Oh, I haven't mentioned up to this point, but Borden has like a butler or like a assistant friend.
I think he's a manager.
Oh, okay. But his name is Fallon, and he does everything with him.
Yeah.
And anyway, Angier buries Fallon, so he forces Borden to give Angier the secret to his trick. And the secret is, wait for it, Tesla. Wait, didn't we know that already?
Yeah, there's a lot of cross-time stuff. Anyway, it's Tesla. It's Tesla. Jimmy Fallon comes back from the grave to let us know it's Jimmy Fallon's here. He's letting us know that it's
Blake.
Tesla. It's Elon Musk himself gonna fix the magic.
Blake got the wrong movie again.
I'm asleep.
Yes, she gave you this notebook at my request. And yes, Tesla is merely the key to my diary, not to my trick.
So after all of that, we find out that, of course, when Angier threw his assistant Olivia at Borden, she was pissed and double-crossed him.
Yeah.
And that Borden has been playing Angier all along.
Yeah.
And, of course, Angier goes to Tesla and calmly, rationally asks, hey, what's the haps? Oh, no, sorry. He goes there screaming at Tesla and hurling accusations.
I'd be pissed too.
Well, I hope that whatever you were really doing with my money was more worthwhile.
And at this totally chill, anger-riddled meeting, Tesla tries to show that the machine does transport things. You just kind of have to squint.
Yeah.
And he does this by trying the machine on a cat. And, of course, the cat is still just sitting there like, what the fuck are you doing to me? But then when Angier leaves, he goes around the back of the building and he sees two cats and a bunch of his hats, which they've been testing the machine on up to this point.
Yeah.
So it's not so much transporty machine and more cloney over there machine.
That's true. To be clear, this is magic. He literally asked Tesla, who had never done anything like this before, he's like, hey man, can you break the laws of physics and make me a new machine? And Tesla's like, bet, son, I got you. And he did.
Got you. Yeah.
Mostly.
Mr. Angier, I didn't think it was necessary to tell Edison's men about the box.
What box?
Well, after we find out that Thomas Edison's men burned down Tesla's complex, we see Angier test the machine on himself. Well, actually, first, we have to see Borden's wife tell him she knows his secret, and she can't live like this. And she dies by suicide in his shop.
Yeah.
What's his secret? I don't know. Why do we have to see this? I also don't know that either.
Maybe we'll find out in the end.
I need your help, John. It's my last show. A limited engagement.
So now we see Angier call in a favor from Cutter, who he has stopped working with at this point, to get a last run of shows booked so he can use his new machine from Tesla.
Yeah.
And seriously, it's all to rub in Borden's face.
Yeah, it's a spite machine. It's a spite cloning machine.
Literally. Anyway, so they show some bigwig the new transported man trick with the machine, and he literally vanishes into thin air and reappears behind them. Real magic.
Real magic.
What you're about to witness is not magic. It is purely science.
Okay, fine. It's real science. Whatever.
Weird science.
So now we're watching Angier perform the real transported man for an audience. Yeah. He turns the machine on and is zapped out of thin air. But Borden, who is there watching, notices that the floor kind of drops out and then comes back up. Aha!
Got him.
But then suddenly Angier is up in the balcony of the theater.
Dude, it literally, we see the floor drop out and we're like, oh, okay, like there's some trickery going on. In seconds, he's like, hey, I'm on top of the world here. Look at me. I'm up in the audience now.
Right.
Only a matter of half a second later.
Yeah, and Borden is pissed.
Yeah, I'd be pissed too.
Don't go back there. Leave him alone. Both of us, just leave him alone.
Well, okay, so he's pissed, but then defeated because he can't figure out how the hell Angier's doing this.
Yeah.
But hey, at least it's over and Borden has admitted defeat.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, where do you think I'm part of the bloody action, fool?
Of course not. Borden sneaks backstage and then under it because he needs to know. Kind of like my need to have cheese.
Yeah, no, for sure. Your colon loves you, and the impending obstruction is like Borden just barreling his way on stage to figure out what's going on.
It's true. Anyway, once underneath the stage, Borden sees a full water tank, and suddenly Angier falls into it right in front of him and drowns. And hey, it's the beginning of the movie.
Oh my God, it is. We're back.
Hold on! What have you done?
So now we're back in the present. Finally. And Cutter has to arrange for Lord Caldlow to buy all of Angier's magic stuff.
Right.
But also, this Lord Caldlow has brought Borden's daughter to see him in prison one last time.
Yeah.
I say one last time because Borden was found guilty of Angier's murder and sentenced to hanging till death.
Yeah.
But wait, lo and behold, Lord Caldlow is actually Angier.
How?
What? I'm glad you asked, Blake, because it's the machine. It's the cloning machine, like I said, if you would pay attention, for God's sake.
What? Where are we?
This is my little girl's life. Don't use dare put her in the middle of this.
I know how hard it is to have someone so special taken away from me, don't I, Borden?
Holy shit.
Bro.
So Angier, or Angier's clone? I'm not sure which one he is. Anyway, he's basically kidnapping Borden's little girl as revenge, but like he's doing it legally somehow, I think.
I mean, it is legal. He takes custody of Borden's daughter. He steals his daughter, frames him for murder, and, like, it's insane, and then has him reveal all of his tricks to him.
Yeah, because he's clearly lost his fucking mind.
Yeah.
How is it you're still alive, Robert? I saw you on a slab, for God's sake.
But now, Cutter finds out the truth, and he's, like, super pissed, which is understandable, I think.
I'd be pretty pissed, too.
And after we see Borden's manager, Fallon, saying goodbye before Borden's execution, we also see Angier putting away the cloning machine for good.
Yeah.
And then we see Borden hanged. And it was morbid, but at least it's over.
Finally. Roll credits.
My brother. A twin.
Gotcha.
Ah!
Yeah. Borden, after his hanging, shows up and shoots Angier. No, wait, that's not right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Wait, hold on. Run it
Okay,
back.
sorry. Hang on. I'm going to try and break it down. It's confusing, but I'm trying to break it down. Okay,
please.
Borden and Fallon were actually twin brothers. And basically, Borden and his twin brother each got to be Borden some of the time and Fallon some of the time. And one of them loved the wife, Sarah, who unalived herself, and the other loved the assistant, Olivia. And they would switch positions in the middle of their act because they can't just do it in, like, you know, when no one's watching, I guess.
It's wild. This whole thing is so freaking elaborate. And all the little, like, clues and stuff were laid out the entire time, too. So it's not like a total fuck you reveal.
Right, exactly. But now it is the final confrontation between Borden and Angier.
The last Bordens and the last Angiers together.
I mean, I hope anyway, because I'm not sure if there's a way to magic out of a real gunshot, but this movie would find a way.
Yeah, nobody catching that bullet.
You did terrible things. Really terrible things, Robert. And all for nothing. For nothing.
So in this confrontation, after Borden drops his truth bomb on Angier, Angier returns the favor to Borden. He's like, you really don't know why we do magic? It's the look on the faces of the audience. And Borden is like, oh shit, is he right? No, okay? That man killed his own clones several times and got your twin brother killed. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy for sure, dude. Yeah, so that's also a horrifying reveal to this, which makes this a scary movie. When Angier is up there doing his transporting man thing, you know, we see all the lightning bolts and stuff, the stage drops out. He does get cloned and shows up in the thing, but it's not him. The person on stage doing the show drops down into a water tank every night and has to drown every single night.
Which is funny because I literally just realized after the first time he cloned himself, he could have just had a permanent double.
Oh my God, I didn't actually think about that. But it does make sense because we learned with the first time he tried the double thing, that double really fucked up and got him hurt. So he can't take that chance anymore. He can only rely on himself, thus he has to die every night.
Yes, but he would be relying on himself because he's cloning himself.
But no, who knows how those clones turn out. But actually, those clones now have to run the show. So, it's crazy. This is crazy.
It's very crazy.
Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to work it out. You want to be
fooled.
Anyway, Angier dies from the gunshot. Borden is reunited with his daughter because Cutter apparently arranged the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we see dozens of dead Angier clones. And then we roll credits.
Oh boy. Oh my god. This movie is such a trip, dude.
It's such a trip, and it's so very confusing. I mean, like, they explain everything in the end and unwind everything, but for a minute there you're like, wait, what? What's happening?
I honestly didn't have that experience. When I first saw this movie, I was right there with it. I didn't feel like I have to like stretch myself to like make these pieces connect. Where I kind of did that with The Illusionist. This was like, oh, they do explain everything, but not in a way that is confusing or feels exposition-y, in a way that feels like a magic trick. The first part of the movie is the pledge. The second act of this movie is the turn. And then the third act, we literally get our prestige. The entire movie is the representation of a magic act. It's fucking brilliant.
It is very brilliant. That's Christopher Nolan for you.
It is. So. It's true.
I had a hard time with this movie. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I really thoroughly enjoyed watching it through. And then watching it again for the second time and doing my notes, it literally took me 3 times as long as it normally does.
I bet it did. There's so much going on. This movie is so packed with little bits and clues and stories and stuff. It's very dense in a good way. Like, everything on screen matters. Every moment matters. There's nothing wasted. But it's hard to boil down for our purposes.
Yes. Speaking of our purposes, let's decide which movie is purposefully better.
We were with Angier and Tesla in the lightning realm, and now we're moving to the Thunderdome.
Oh, God.
I look at me.
I regret all of my life up to this point.
I'm a literary magician.
Movie versus movie. Welcome to the Thunderdome. This place fucking rules.
All right, Dave, we are back in the Thunderdome, and I wish I could pull a working brain out of a hat, but for now, it's just jelly beans upstairs.
Yes. By for now, you mean permanently.
It's forever jelly beans. But before we watch these movies, Dave, you and I decide on 5 things that we both agree make a good genre movie. In this case, magic movies. So let's go through them.
Let's pull them out of a hat.
Number 1, we need an obsessed magician.
I'm sure he can quit anytime he wants. He just doesn't want to.
Number 2, we need mind-blowing tricks.
Do my eyes deceive me? Yes, probably.
Number 3, we need mysterious atmosphere.
Oh, what's really going on here?
Number 4, we need a plot with twists and turns.
This ride's gonna make me throw up.
And number 5, we need a jaw-dropping final turn.
What? Did that just happen? So hopping right into obsessed magician.
Yes.
I don't think there's a more obsessive magician than in The Prestige, and there's 2 of them. Angier spirals into near madness trying to get revenge on Borden for killing his wife in the beginning of the movie, which causes Borden to then try and get revenge on him for shooting off his fingers, which then causes him to... Anyway.
That's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. And not only are both of them trying to be the better magician by watching everything the other one does, they also try and attack each other as well, multiple times. And in the end, it kills one of them, or 2 of them, sort of.
A lot of deaths occur, technically.
Yes, technically. A lot of deaths.
It's true. But in The Illusionist, we have Eisenheim, who is both obsessed with magic, and Sophie.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
It's very Anyway, he's so obsessed with both of these things that he uses magic to devise the most convoluted plan for love I've ever witnessed. It's insane. You could have just killed the prince in some discreet way with any of the little, like, sleight of hand things you do, but nope. This obsessive weirdo had to invent groundbreaking techniques and stage an elaborate theater production to effectively gaslight the crown prince. That's wildly obsessive.
Yes. I mean, I get why he did it a little bit, because then he got the public on his side.
But also, who gives a fuck if you're just gonna live in the fucking mountains after?
Like, why couldn't they just go to the mountains?
Why couldn't they have just gone to the mountains? Thank you, Dave. She said he'll hunt us. Blah blah blah. But whatever. I don't care.
It really just breaks my brain.
Yeah, it's true. And I think we can get on to mind-blowing tricks.
Okay, great.
I gotta say, The tricks in The Illusionist are so good that they border on pure fantasy. Like the orange tree trick where the tree grows and produces fruit on stage is nuts, but the conjuring spirits trick is next level for this.
Yeah.
I think this film handles it in a way that still amazes us, though, as an audience, and has us questioning if Eisenheim actually is supernatural. So it definitely puts us in that mode.
Sure does. I don't think it does it as well as The Prestige, though, because obviously in The Prestige you have a multitude of tricks.
Sure.
Not even talking about the final version of the Transporter Man yet, but you have the safe bird disappearing trick.
Yeah.
You have the first Transported Man trick with the closet doors. You have the bullet catch, albeit done wrong. You have getting out of the water container, which also is done wrong. And then there's so many tricks that are super cool even before the ultimate trick, where it's not actually a trick. He's just fucking cloning and also teleporting himself and then killing the clone who is himself, which is pretty mind-blowing, I think.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. There are more like tricks and magic-y kind of stuff in The Prestige, which I really liked. I love the tricks in that and the way they do it. And even the way they explain it doesn't feel like it's letting the air out of the sails, but the way they do it does kind of keep us all wondering and stuff, you know?
Yes, which I think we can go ahead and get into mysterious atmosphere.
Yeah.
So for the entirety of The Prestige's runtime, you get the sense that there's more to the story than meets the eye. And it does give a sense of mystery. Why does Borden have wild mood swings? What is Angier hiding? Why is ScarJo's accent so bad? So many mysteries, so little time. Also, is Cutter actually a bad guy? I'm not sure.
You know, he's that kind of moral ambiguity kind of person. He just kind of has to go with his gut on things, and sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not, but in the end it does feel very human.
It's true. It does.
I got to give it to that. But as I mentioned with the last point, the way The Illusionist is handled leaves us as the audience wondering what the hell is going on, first off, but in an engaging way, I think. This could be frustrating, but questioning whether Eisenheim again is supernatural or just good at magic tricks leaves us questioning everything he does and says, which ultimately does pay off at the end. So we're kind of wondering, like, obviously he's hiding something. Obviously there's more to the story, but it kind of subverts us in a way of like thinking about other things and how they all connect. And I think they do at the end.
Yes, I do think there's a lot of back and forth in The Illusionist. Not so much as The Prestige, though.
Yeah, I get it. But speaking of back and forth, I think we can talk about the plot with twists and turns.
Sure.
Where I think The Illusionist shines, though, is its layered plot. We think we're watching a love story, but when Sophie dies, everything gets turned on its head, you know? You don't really understand how involved the plot is until that final reveal at the end that makes you immediately want to rewatch it. So we're kind of zipping along. We don't know exactly where is this a drama? Is it a love story? Is it a movie about magical people? I don't know. You don't know, and it kind of keeps you guessing until we get to that end.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit because this movie is very clearly about love and not much else.
Magical love. And revenge and suicide.
Anyway, I would say that in The Prestige, this movie twists and turns basically every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It jumps between present day and the past, and also the further past, and also the future or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. But anyway, it's got Borden killing Angier's wife, Angier showing up to maim Borden showing up and maiming an Angier audience member, Angier getting a double, Angier's assistant falling in love with Borden. There's just so many twists and turns that my neck hurts.
Dude, I love The Prestige's plot. Like the way it's set up and layered and the way we get through everything. It's so engaging. It's so mysterious. It's just so much going on that you don't know which way is up necessarily, but you know you're there for the ride.
Yeah, I can agree. Which... Now we can talk about the jaw-dropping final turn.
Finally.
So Chris Nolan inceptioned us before he released Inception, like years before. He put a final turn within the final turn. Basically, we find out that not only has Angier been just cloning himself and murdering the clones, but also Borden has actually been two people this entire time. Two twin brothers, who one of which sacrifices himself for the other to get revenge, which he gets on Angier. But Angier also kind of gets the last word because he makes Borden realize that he's been wrong this whole time the way he's looking at everything.
Oh, dude, the final reveal in The Prestige is just unfucking real. Yeah. It's unmatched. It's so good and so like thematically relevant too. It doesn't even just feel like a ha ha ha, got you. It's a turn. It's an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
It feels all built in and it all works. It's so good. And
I agree.
I do have to say, I have some issues with the final turn in The Illusionist, but ultimately, I do love it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a ruse the whole time, right? And not only a ruse on Inspector Uhl and the Crown Prince, but a ruse on the audience watching the movie. The fact that Sophie was alive the whole time is wonderful, and their love is so strong. It should have inspired like an early true crime documentary. This is like... It's awesome to see Eisenheim and Sophie together at the end. It still doesn't explain some of the fantastical elements of this movie, but it kind of pretends it does explain everything.
It does.
And just hopes you don't really think about it too much and just really are into the love story. So that's my issue with it. But, I think on a certain level it does work.
I would have to say that the final turn in The Illusionist wasn't necessarily jaw-dropping because they kind of telegraphed it a little bit there towards the end.
Yeah.
But it was a nice conclusion, where like, oh, happy ending, which is not magical.
I think this movie thought it was smarter than it actually was.
1000%. Kind of like its lead actor.
Oh, it's the truth.
Gotcha.
Edward Norton, I think, has repented for his sins of being a dickhead, hopefully.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm just making excuses for an asshole. I don't know. Either way, there's a lot of stuff going on with both of these movies, but yeah, The Prestige has such a great final turn. It just knocks my socks off every time.
Well, all right, Blake, I think that's enough talking about these movies. I think it's time to pick our winner.
Okay.
Let's get to the finish line.
Let's do it, Dave. Let's turn our friends into animals.
How do I make you disappear?
I just want to... I don't understand magic at all, dude. As long as I don't get a wedgie after this, let's just get to it.
No promises.
Hey, look. We did it. It's the finish line. We're at the finish line. Can I go home yet? Alright.
Okay, Blake. We're at the finish line.
Yes.
Let's pick our winners. I want to go first since you went last time.
Oh, wow. Okay. Feeling very decisive here, Dave.
Yes. Not really. I just want to take you on a journey. So basically, when I first watched The Prestige for this episode, I was like, no way anything beats this.
Right.
And then I watched The Illusionist, and I'm like, oh, this movie's actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
I actually really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
But you know what? It doesn't compare. And then I started doing my notes to The Prestige, and I'm not going to lie, dude, I got bored a lot. Because...
Really?
Yes. There was so much to fucking talk about, and it's like, God, this movie is just... There's just so much. The Illusionist is just more straightforward. I enjoyed it more.
Wait, to be clear, you dislike The Prestige because of what you had to do for this show, not based on its merits as a movie?
It's how I felt watching it the second time through.
Suspect.
It's how it made me feel. So, that being said, I did enjoy The Illusionist more.
Okay.
However...
Okay. God damn it. Let me grab my pen and paper. I don't know where we're going with this.
However, just because I enjoyed it in that moment more does not mean it's the better magician film.
Okay.
The Prestige... is just better. It's just the better movie. It's just the better magician movie. It literally packs so much shit that is interesting and neck-breaky and illusion-y, and it's got like a more believable cast, number one.
I agree.
Scarlett Johansson's accent. It makes you more like shocked and everything. I do have to say that The Prestige is my pick for first prize films for magician films.
Wow, that was indeed quite the journey, because I saw these and I was like, I thought you were going to pick The Illusionist because you're a sucker for love stories, which I understand. And I can be too, depends.
Yeah.
I love both of these movies. Yeah. I think The Prestige is the better film. I think it's such a good movie, dude.
I love
see
what
it.
You're doing.
It is so... but listen to me. I think it's so just solid. I'm so engaged through the whole thing, and The Illusionist comes on, and you're just like, you're rooting for Sophie and Eisenheim, and the Crown Prince sucks so fucking hard, and you hate all these people, and you just want love to win for once. And I felt torn because The Illusionist is such an emotional film. It feels a little more emotional, I think, to me, than The Prestige does. The Prestige feels a little more technical in its approach. But yeah, dude, at the end of the day, I fucking love The Prestige, and it's such a good movie, and my choice for first prize film has to be The Prestige.
Oh, you had me.
So good.
You got me.
I think it is probably up there after watching this again. It's probably up there with definitely some of my favorite films. I don't know if I could categorize it. I love this movie. I think it's definitely one of Christopher Nolan's best.
Yeah.
I just loved it. I love the world it created, and The Illusionist felt more of like a storybook, which was probably what it's going for. But I think the more engaging and thought-provoking film is 100% The Prestige. Like I said in your thing, it sets it up the way it's plotted. Even the way it's sectioned out is we have our pledge, our turn, and our prestige and stuff at the end. It's just brilliant. I love this movie. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, that's it. That's the one.
Thank God. I thought I was going to have to fight you there for a second.
Nope. We all got tricks, Dave.
That's true. That's true. Well, I guess that decides it then. The Prestige is officially, by law, the better magician film.
I decree it.
I declare magician films.
Although I do have to say, I didn't bring this up earlier, but I like how magic was really popular in like 2006, but all these studios decided to make magic films, but in the 1800s.
Yeah, like, wait, what?
I guess it's not as magical in present day, so I don't know. But The Prestige takes it, and I think that's the right choice.
I agree. So let's trick ourselves the fuck out of here.
But does that
poof? Hey, First Prize listeners, thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks for pulling a rabbit out of a hat with us. If you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed hearing us trick ourselves, consider subscribing to our socials. It's at First Prize Pod on all platforms. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Threads, Instagram. We're on TikTok and YouTube as well. Also, don't forget to check out our website. It's firstprizefilms.com.
Yep, we do this for free because we can pull gold coins out of our ears now. But if you'd still like to support us, consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, anything helps. Join us next week as we strap on our New Balance shoes with these dad action films.
Yeah, man. We're talking about Olympus Has Fallen versus White House Down, both from 2013.
Yet again, one more Who Did It Better, not necessarily Who Did It First movies.
We're stringing them together, Dave.
Sure
the last few
are.
episodes. We got this.
It's going to be fine.
I've got to polish up my New Balances, and we're going to be good, dude.
Fine. See ya!
Bye. Can you cry and do magic at the same time? I don't know.
Abracadabra.
He actually saws his assistant in half. I'm sorry.
They made me do this.